Hello and welcome everyone. This is the Division 1 playoffs, the quarterfinals for the Collegiate Chess League Spring 2026 season. My name's Joe and we have Mizzou versus Texas Tech kicking off right now as we speak. The games have lifted off. They're underway. Looks like we've got Aryan Tari on Mizzou's board 1 playing up against Nathaniel Moore from Texas Tech. This is for a spot in the semifinals. So that's at least $500 on the line. What's up to Physic and Jesse and Cloudy? Welcome back. We've got 2 matches to share with you all today. Starting off strong here with Division 1. In the other quarterfinals match in D1, there's UT Rio Grande versus SRM IST from India. But we will not be watching those games. We've got Mizzou, the Tigers. They are the number 3 seed in the bracket, losing to SLU in week 7. That was last weekend, a week ago from today. So that dropped them down to 3rd. Although at the start of the season, they were actually the number 1 seed. They have the highest rated team in all of the land. So number 1 seeded overall originally, but after the regular season, some tough losses for Mizzou. They're now the 3rd seed, so they're playing today. Otherwise, if they were a top 2 seed like SLU and UT Dallas, they'd be taking some time off. So the winner of this match will move on to play against UT Dallas, actually. So I filled out a prediction bracket myself last night. I actually had Mizzou winning this, but I think Dallas will beat them. So we'll see. UT Dallas could be watching as we speak. Tari's looking for a queen trade here. This is 5+2 time control. Blitz. Both sides have all 4 rooks lined up on the C and D files. We have, like I said, this queen trade is being offered. So right now, Nathaniel Moore, this is the board 4 for Texas Tech, deciding how best to approach this queen trade. So instead of declining the queen trade, if, for example, we blocked with the bishop, there'd be something like knight a5, seemingly annoyingly. Although what's funny is that would actually blunder the queen. So maybe bishop b3 was a move. It's being played now. Nathaniel Moore decides to lift the queen up with an attack on f7. So Tari trades on b3, then follows up with knight a5. This also offers a rook trade here. So another wrinkle in the equation. Black has a fianchettoed bishop, full range of the diagonal. Not a single piece is there. But white could try to trade off here with bishop d4. Instead, we see the king lifting up. Let's take a look at some of the other games we've got going on. Here we've got Texas Tech's captain, Badan Bilaville. I actually don't know if it's Badan or Bogdan. I feel like Bogdan feels like I'm butchering it because that's how I want to say it, because that's how it's spelled. But they're also not from the US. Neither is Mihail Boyer, a French player. And yeah, Badan Bilaville from Ukraine, or at least representing Ukrainian flag, which is pretty cool. But Bilaville, this is the team captain for Texas Tech, board 3. And we have a last-minute sub-in for Mizzou, subbing in for Isik Chan. This is the board 4 from Mizzou, Amilal Monkdalai. And it looks like this has been paying off so far for the Mizzou team, because White has a fantastic position here. So just winning a pawn out of this trade, actually. Pawn push and knight in. So d5 is getting a question mark from Black. And Roman, this is the board 1 from Texas Tech, just giving up a pawn, trading off the dark square bishop, and you can see White is just working their way in on these dark squares. Knight to e4 is a beautiful move here from Amilal, just eyeing that f6 square. And we can see Black now has an opportunity to play f6 because White did not play knight e4. They played rook to b1, taking a moment here to defend the b pawn. But this moment of passiveness is allowing for Black to break through with f6. But no, f6 was not played, which understandably so. Pawn push. I mean, Ben Feingold would be having a word with Roman here, but king steps up to g7. There's too much going on right now. I need assistance. I'm gonna call in some help from Play Versus. So basically, there is a fair play call, a Zoom call, that the players are required for divisions 1 through 3 in the playoffs. What's up, Speed Chess? Good to see you. Yeah, we're looking at Amilal. He's going to get a point for Mizzou, and looks like, I mean, speaking of, geez, we've already got 2 more points from Ariantari and Mihail Boyer. This could be a wipeout early, but we've seen Mizzou not do as well in later rounds before. But that was in the regular season. So this could be a different Mizzou team now that the playoffs have started. So let's take a quick look at Aryan Tari's game. This was a resignation. So what happened here? We had one pair of rooks traded. We do see the bishop traded. Wow. Well, this is a mistake from Nathaniel Moore. Pawn takes, and instead of taking back, he takes the bishop. And now here, Tari throws in e takes f3, intermezzo, hitting the knight. And Nathaniel Moore saves the bishop, but then loses the knight. And now we have a opposite color bishop's game, but the e-pawn gets saved. So what happens if king takes, there's bishop check skewer. So that pawn stays on the board, and this is a disaster because now Tari wins the bishop and wins the game. So well done there. Let's check on Boyer's game. So Mihail Boyer with the black pieces. Trade off the light square bishops. And that's a fork. That's a nasty fork at that. Knight going to f5 with bad intentions for this king that's caught on e2. And this opens up the rook, which pins the e-pawn. But hold on. We've got some crazy eval swings going on over here. So what's going on in this game? Luca with the white pieces. Looks like we have a simplification here and an exchange up for black. This king's got to watch out to not get forked. The rook gets questioned. Whoa, and there's a fork, and it's missed. Oh my god. Oh my god. Now the king moves. Wow, white was completely winning. Luca missed it. And Luca's got all the time, too. Sebastian has 1 second. Rook moves. Knight comes back. Sebastian's playing on the increment, and Amilal's position is not as advantageous as it was. We saw he had won a pawn. So this is Texas Tech's chance to fight back and get into this game. They're down 2-0 to start. The top two boards from Mizzou getting the job done. But can their bottom two boards hold against the Texas Tech players? Sebastian's bringing the king in. Rook to a3 is a big threat. Also taking the f-pawn was a threat. So here we see Sebastian trying to work some progress here. Yes, keeping the knight pinned and keeping contact with the f-pawn. This is going to win the pawn. White finds a check, brings the knight back, and now there goes the pawn, and we see resignation. So Luca goes down to Sebastian. Texas Tech is on the board, and now we have this last game here of round 1. And it looks like white is for choice, but how do they make progress? They keep bringing the rook back to d3, but that's not the move. Maybe the knight's trying to get into f6. No, knight goes to d6. Oh, and that's a fork. We've seen 2 forks missed now. But what can black do about it? 10 seconds. Queen steps aside, watching that check. But now the rook's coming in. Beautiful maneuver here from Amilal. Rook steps there. If you take, there was knight takes, but then we enter on f6. Rook comes back, takes, knight takes, queen f6 check. Eval bar is dropping. This was not the best continuation. 6 seconds for Amilal. Queen steps aside. But what's the plan here? Queen's getting in, but there's nowhere to enter. Oh, and now there's going to be knight to g5 is the problem. Hold on. Oh, checking and trading, and now queen here. Queen's traded, so now it's a up a pawn in game here for white. but there's a doubled pawn, both sides less than 15 seconds. The Orientari of commentary, that's funny. All right, white, let's see. Trading here, pushing the F pawn, I assume. No, king stepping back, very interesting. Ah, the king wants the H pawn. Take on E5. Take on H5. And yeah, the F pawn is blocking the king, so pawn can't move. King has to go somewhere suboptimal, and that's going to give up the control of G7. And the king can't go to G5. So the next moves will be king G7, and the H pawn will run home. So Amilal able to convert that, which gives Missouri the lead. That's a big upset, board 4 versus board 1. And that right now is the difference. So Amilal, last minute sub for Mizzou, swapping in for Isak, paying off so far, but only one round in. And we've seen Mizzou start strong, but finish weak. So Texas Tech just has to stay in it. They definitely had their chances in this round. I mean, we saw a couple forks missed already. 2 of them. The knights are tricky pieces, and the time control is very limiting for how much time you can think. Players were living off that 2-second increment. So we should have the next round starting now, actually. So here we go. Round 2 underway. Here we've got Orientari, board 1 from Mizzou, up against the team captain, Bogdan Bilovil from Texas Tech. And Tari's got the white pieces. We've got a E4, D4. This is a French exchange. Are you telling me Orientari plays a French exchange? Man, I used to play the French exchange, and then people bullied me, so I quit. But Orientari, he's got that confidence that I don't have. Who's willing to bully Orientari for playing the French defense exchange? I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this pays off for Tari. People definitely don't like the French exchange. And we'll see if Bilovil can take advantage of it. C3, I like it a lot. Just creating space for the bishop, and the queen can come in with the battery. Knight from B to D2. Perhaps rerouting to F1. Could we switch colors? That's a great question. It's very possible, but I think we're leaving it. Fortunately or unfortunately. All right, Luca playing against Roman. There's this knight capture on D3 with check, but Luca's not going for it. Luca's going for this attack here. Pawn to A5, and the computer did not like that move. Here it wanted to move knight to G5. And that's just targeting the H pawn. So that could have led to some interesting attacks. But now we do see the trade on D3, and for whatever reason, queen takes was not played here. I thought for sure queen takes. Instead, we see pawn takes. Semi-opening the C file. And yeah, computer likes just the attack. G4, just sacking a pawn just to get at the black king. Taking command of the position. Roman just getting below 4 minutes here. Let's check in with Amilal. Amilal, the board 4, great start in round 1, starting off with a win against the top board. Couldn't have a much better start than that. Now with the black pieces up against Sebastian. And Sebastian was the only player that got a point for Texas Tech. So making sure the team is not getting swept in round 1. Taking down Luca. And Luca is actually, he's found G4. Although the question mark means the computer didn't like it as much at this point. So black can take that pawn for free, but it's going to cost a semi-open G file pointing at your king. So, wow, following up with F5. A double pawn sack. And here, the move is rook takes. Actually, I was lying. Roman was playing G4. Luca has the black pieces. And there's only one move that's good for black here. And it's rook takes, which makes sense. If you do pawn takes, there's knight takes on D5 with a tempo. And yeah, Roman saying, I didn't want the pawns, they're in my way. Get rid of them for me, please, so that I can attack you. So it's a bold strategy. We'll see if it pays off. Luca is thinking a lot here, under 2 minutes now. So I think Luca's been struggling. He finds the best move here. He's the only Mizzou player to not get points on the board in that first round. So we'll see if this is the opportunity for him to get on the board in round 2 up against Texas Tech's board 1, Roman. Let's check in with Mihail Boyer up against the board 4, Nathaniel Moore. So Boyer's got the white pieces. Bishop pair for white. And looking like we're trying to open up the center here with C4. Attacking black's farthest push pawn. Okay, we have already a mistake here from Luca. So what happened here? Knight takes on H2. And that allows for knight takes. So white's just up a piece. So what was the point with this move here? Here the best move apparently is bishop to E8, which is not easy to find. Rook takes and then you have bishop here. Wow. Well, Luca gives up the piece, then finds bishop E8, reroutes to G6 opposite the king. So the king goes in the corner. So yeah, Roman has a piece for 3 pawns. Gave up 3 pawns to attack black's king, and it's looking like it's paying off. So Luca's going to have to defend here. Trying to create a counterattack on the queen side, which makes sense. Connect 4. But now white's bringing in the cavalry here. Knight attacking. Top move recommendation, queen f7. Trying to box out the knight, but yeah, we're crashing through on G6. All right, bishop steps back. And now there's a tactical shot here. All right, wait, did he play it? Oh my gosh, yeah. So he finds it. The bishop was defending the rook. Now the pawn's the only defender. So rook takes. But the thing is, there's rook takes with check, rook takes back, then takes. But now there's e6, taking advantage of the pin on the f file. Pawn takes with check, queen takes, attacking the rook, and the pawn's attacking the rook here. But we can take, and then take the bishop, right? Am I missing something? The best move apparently is queen g2. But, I mean, rook takes f7 looks simple enough to me. It's 2 minor pieces versus a ton of pawns, but... Oops, that was not the move. Yeah, Luca's gonna have a rough start here. I think dropping 2-0. And Roman's using their sweet time here. No rush from Roman. Really knows it's a critical moment. Looking if there's a better place to put the queen. Unable to find it, so it takes. And now g3. It's kind of awkward here. Just attacking that knight. And if the knight goes to f1, for example, just g2. And that's going to be really unfortunate for you. So, where can you move the knight is the question. I figured knight f3, but then there's going to be rook f8, hitting that knight. And white has some back rank issues here, actually. So, the best move is actually to give the knight up and play rook e2, which is not really the move you want to make. It's also saying you could just take on c5. All right, the knight has moved. The rook does go to the f file. Rook comes back. This is definitely a much more human approach. So yeah, knight comes back, making sure we're keeping an eye on f1 because otherwise we will have some back rank issues. Rook saves the pawn, hits the bishop. Bishop takes on a5. And yeah, these pawns are all doubled and isolated. So white's just going to play some cleanup here. Pushing that d pawn, but now the king steps over. Technically not out of back rank issues just yet. This pawn is covering c2. But this king probably will make its way to c1. Okay, bishop hits the rook, so the rook hits back, and preparing for d2. Yeah, if we go knight here, isn't there g4? Very interesting. Okay, knight d2. Yeah, the problem with all these pawns, they're all just split. They're not connected at all, so they can't help make progress. King gets to d1. Now the bishop comes out. We do have a result. Mihail Boyer adds to the Mizzou lead. So the board 2 for Mizzou is a perfect 2 out of 2. And Ariantari is losing, actually. So, yeah, white is struggling to grab these pawns. So it's hard to coordinate. And both sides less than 10 seconds. Okay, now there's a passed a pawn. Tari goes down to Texas Tech's captain, Bilovil, who gets on the board. All right, so there's an a pawn, but what exactly is the plan here for white? Okay, going after the d pawn. Amilal lost to Sebastian, so Sebastian is perfect 2 for 2 for Texas Tech, keeping it close. And Roman should tie things up here, actually. This was a tough round for Mizzou. Only Mihail Boyer getting a point. against the board 4. Yeah, this is 2 minor pieces versus 3 completely isolated pawns. Okay, and the king now is targeting the D pawn. So it looks like there's going to be some progress being made. Bishop D4. Check. Check. Now the rook's going to get to the G file. Yes. Very nice. Grabs 1 pawn. Tries to sack the rook to make a queen, but white's not biting. Now it's 2 minor pieces versus nothing. We see resignation at this point. So very nice game from Roman, also getting on the board. And that's going to tie things up at 4. So we were just talking about Mizzou giving up these leads. Strong start, 3-1, but Texas Tech answers right back. Let's check on this Tari game before the start of round 3. So we have knight versus knight and a strong placed king for white. And a knight for black, though, getting back and starting to gobble up some of these pawns. So, yeah, that's going to be a problem. We see this passed G pawn is going to get the job done. And resignation there. Yeah, this knight just holding on to this pawn. So yeah, white will have to give up the knight, and this king can't get to this pawn. And if the king attacks the knight, then the knight can run away, and the king's too far from the pawn. So, yeah. So it's all tied up 4-4. And we have round 3 just like that already starting. So it's all tied up, back to dead even. Tari now is playing against Sebastian, who is leading this Texas Tech team 2 out of 2. So it's the board 2s here today that have been really showing up. Mihail Boyer and Sebastian Kostolansky, both perfect 2 for 2. Now we have Tari with the black pieces. Okay, these moves are not coming in for me. Wow, they're going fast. They're trading a lot. So yeah, Tari's French exchange. Maybe he has to switch things up here. But wow, giving up the fianchettoed bishop to win a pawn. So Sebastian's already up a pawn, but cost him a fianchetto bishop. We'll see if Tari's able to take advantage of this, putting a bishop on h3. Also, Tari's okay going into this endgame, apparently. He's got doubled isolated pawns. He's down a pawn. No queens on the board. But Tari's gained time on the clock, 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Very interesting in-game. And Sebastian, happy to trade 1 rook. We've got bishop to e6. Very nice move here from Tari, putting pressure on this knight. And also the a pawn is hanging. So kind of hard to remedy this situation here. Tari should be more than okay getting that pawn back, at least in material. We see the knight dropping back to c1, saying if you want to take, well, you're going to have to give up the bishop for it. I'm wondering if b3 is a move. Pawn to b3, trying to trap that bishop. I guess then there's going to be rook a3. And if rook to d3, then maybe this pawn gets in. So Sebastian just trades, invites the rook in to a2, and we see the rook lift hitting some pawns. The b pawn is taken, the c pawn is taken. So black has the outside passed pawn, but is it going to be enough? Computer says it's dead drawn. It looks like white has a better structure, but this outside pawn is very valuable. Tari lifts the king, guarding that doubled f pawn, and white pushes e4, clamping down. Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone really can make progress here. We do get that outside pawn, So it's a better structure for white, but Tari should be able to hold this to a draw. And looks like they're finding a repetition as we speak. So Tari slows down Sebastian. How's Mihail Boyer doing? The other perfect player so far. So Roman coming off of a win in that previous round. Taking down Luca. Luca, who's 0 for 2. And Luca's got white now against Texas Tech's board 4. Sindarov is playing really well. But is Sindarov playing in the Collegiate Chess League? I don't think so. Unfortunately. For us, truly. We'd love to have him. I mean, he's 20 years old, right? He should be in college. Somebody get that guy on a scholarship team. Why aren't we recruiting Sindarov? All right, Luca going for the queen trade. Given a question mark. The computer judges all. Basically, I guess my question mark to this move is this pawn looks like it's being attacked by a lot of things. You could argue it's being attacked by 3 things, but it's only defended once. And the knight temporarily defends it, but the knight's unreliable. He's getting kicked out. And now the e-pawn is looking like a snack. Gets gobbled up immediately. And yeah, eval's reading pretty dead even here. You're sure Webster can recruit him? Well, Webster got a Wonder Leon. We have the bishop traded for the knight. So it's 2 knights versus 2 bishops, but wait. Yeah. So here, Nathaniel is deciding which piece to take with. It takes with the bishop, which makes sense. And the option is to take the knight and ruin the pawn structure. Knight d6 hits with the fork, but black's going to take this. So the bishop pair was short-lived. It seems more prefers having the rook and yeah, giving up that second bishop to damage the pawns. But this is a rook and pawn in game. Should be a draw similar to Ariantari's position, right? Double F pawns. King can step up. So yeah, black covering the 7th rank, not letting this rook enter. And now black might enter white's 2nd rank. So there's still something left to be played here, but white's rooks are doubled. Looking pretty drawish, to be honest. Yeah, rook attacking these 3rd rank pawns, but white can protect them. Also, maybe contemplating a check. I don't think the check helps. So probably just a rook lift, if I had to guess. All right, let's check in with Amilal versus Badan. So we have a pin here. This king is uncastled. I guess neither king is castled. The G pawn is hit right now. And the bishop is hit as well. You could save the bishop and the pawn, but you're underdeveloping a piece. So that's kind of unfortunate. Bilavil way down on the clock. Amilal's got a huge time advantage, over 2 minutes on the clock in his favor. So that could end up being costly. 30 seconds here to just find a move. And you got to save this bishop, right? Bishop c5. Maybe bishop back. What's going on here? 20 seconds? This is ridiculous. Okay, he says bishop f8. He says I'm keeping my pawn. So it's given a question mark, but a pawn is a pawn. And when one pawn falls, perhaps many pawns fall. And black was not ready for that. So 2.5 minutes here for Amilal to figure out the best way forward here. And the computer likes queen a4, which makes sense, just really piling on this knight. And you can imagine in some world, this rook wants to also join in on the fun. And man, does that look fun. So, okay, king e2. This is a logical move. Just letting that rook breathe. The downside is your king is on e2. So, say hello to some new friends here. Starting off with queen c2 check. Bilovil is playing. Maybe going pawn hunting, and it makes sense because you're also attacking the bishop and you're defending that g pawn as well. Now, the problem is your queen was also helping defend, so hard to play defense and offense at the same time. And we could see this knight getting captured and luring the black king out to play as well. The problem is Badan has only 12 seconds to play. And that bishop back on f8 decides it no longer wants to guard the pawn and wants to help influence perhaps the king's squares. So here there's only one move for white that's good, and we'll see if Amilal finds it. Over a minute on their clock. Let me keep an eye on some of the other games. We've got Roman and Mihail Boyer. This game, it's been slowly increasing in favor for black, which is good for Mizzou. So Mizzou, they were up by 2. They lost their lead. And now the question is, who's going to get that lead back? Is it going to be Texas Tech or Mizzou? We see a pawn grab here, and you can't take with the bishop because you're getting forked. And if you take with the pawn, you're losing the d pawn, apparently. So bishop steps back, and black is just up a pawn. Both sides here, less than a minute. e5, best move in the position, actually. Not even ignoring, just completely ignoring the c pawn. And trying to open up that center. So, yeah, and Roman's only got 10 seconds to figure this out. Captures, knight gets hit, knight saves itself, queen recaptures with the tempo, queen defends, or at least tries to, but what's it like here? Bishop c5? Or maybe bishop b4? No? What's going on? What is going on? These are great questions. Okay, we have a result. Amilal won. So, you know, really good play from Amilal. So it finds rook c1, castles. Badan is just down a piece now. Pawn takes with check, queen comes in, rook lifts. There goes another piece. And yeah, that's too many pieces. So, and bishop takes is a huge threat next. Yeah, Mizzou's looking great. So, yeah, what happened here? Bishop hits the queen. Bishop hits the queen again, and these bishops are like knives attacking the king. So, yeah, king steps over, unpins the pawn, hits the queen. Queen saves herself. Now the rook wants to say hello to the king, and that's going to do it. That's going to be the end there. So 2 big points in round 3 for Mizzou. And Luca, rough start for Luca, but he's coming back with a vengeance with the white pieces. He's got a b pawn, and that b pawn has some speed. So king unleashing the brakes, and that b pawn is going to turn into a queen. So let's give Boyer is a perfect 3 out of 3, by the way, really leading this team. And Amilal, board 4, doing really good. subbing in for Isak today. And yeah, black has 3 pawns, but white raises a queen, and this is going to be mate. Very quickly here. King is going to say hello, and that's mate in 2. Well done. We see the resignation. So Luca is getting on the board, and at a perfect time, it was tied 4-4. And Texas Tech only gets a draw against Aryan Tari. Everyone else gets a win for Mizzou. And now they bring Texas Tech to match point. Season on the line. Mizzou needs 1 point to win this match. And once they do, it's going to be lights out for Texas Tech. They will end their season. No prizes for them, ending in quarterfinals. And Mizzou will move on to the semifinals against UT Dallas. But they have to close out. They need 1 full point. Either a win or 2 draws will get the job done for them. Texas Tech can afford 1 draw. Otherwise, they need to win out. Now, the crazy thing is Texas Tech can still win with a 4-point sweep in this 4th round. So it is round 4. We've got Aryan Tari with the white pieces. Sticking with e4, we've got a Sicilian here. So this is top board versus top board. Both players, only 1 point for Roman and 1.5 for Aryan Tari out of 3. So we have an open Sicilian here, a Najdorf, and f4, and e5. Roman playing pretty quick. Brings the queen out. Tari ready to castle kingside. What happens if Tech goes 3 wins and a draw? That's a great question, Sir Swaggins, the Hobbit. If Texas Tech wins 3.5 out of the 4 points in this final round, the match will be tied 8-8, but you can't have ties in the Collegiate Chess League, at least not in the playoffs, because it's a single elimination bracket. So someone needs to move on and play against UT Dallas. So that means we would go to a tiebreak. There would be overtime, round 5. And they would play the same pairings as round 4, but they would swap colors, and instead of 5+2, they would play 3+2. And if they tie the overtime round 2-2, if the match is tied then 10-10, they'll repeat that process, but with 1+2 bullet. Hello, Bunkall, how's it going? All right, so Tari moves the rook to the g file. No castling, kingside at least. Still has some pawns around on the queen side to use to shelter the king later. So Texas Tech, they've got their season on the line here. Their back's against the wall. Hello, RB Spyro. How's it going? How's Temple doing? Big Temple win today? Huge. I know I chose Temple for some of my brackets, so good to hear. All right, Tari's starting to look better and better, and he's swarming in with the pieces here. F7 is looking particularly tender. Hey, Wikipedia. Another Temple favorite here. Is there a classical league for college? That's a great question. There is a tournament every January that is called the Pan Ams, which is a classical team event for colleges only in North America. And the top 4 teams from that Pan Am's Swiss tournament go on to play in what's called the President's Cup, which is the U.S. College Championship in classical time control. In fact, this Mizzou team that we're watching right now actually won this year's President's Cup. So Mizzou are technically the U.S. champions in college chess for classical time control. So they are doing quite well in the college chess world, and they're fighting to become champions of the Collegiate Chess League as well. And they've done both before. I want to say 2024. But classical and online blitz, very, very different games, of course. So, but yeah, Tari's looking good. Tari's trying to punch Mizzou's ticket to the semifinals. They just need a win here, and you can tell Roman is very uncomfortable. Roman is now under 2 minutes. Tari's got 420. And Tari's got the best position out of his whole team right now. And Amilal is looking good as well. But Amilal is also down on time, also less than 2 minutes. So Nathaniel Moore, he's the board 4, but he's been struggling. Luca just got on the board in round 3, adding to Mizzou's lead. And Nathaniel Moore hasn't gotten any points yet, and it's tough as a board 4. And he's playing against Amilal, who is also Mizzou's board 4, but has been playing very well. 2 points, actually, the second most from the Mizzou team, only behind their board 2, Mihail Boyer, who is playing Texas Tech's best performing player today, Sebastian, who has 2.5 out of 3, only drawing against Aryan Tari, the only player to get some points from that third round for Texas Tech. What happened to UCLA? They didn't do well this season. I don't know what happened. Apparently their players were just not, their hearts weren't in it, I guess, this year. I don't know. I chose Temple B for D23, but not Temple for D9. Was that a good call? I think we should keep an eye on this game. So Roman's finally found a move, but it cost him so much time. So we have bishop takes, queen comes out. Now this is a tempo on the rook, but you could argue you could take here with check, but the king steps up, keeps pressure on that bishop, and the rook has to save itself, and then the knight might be dislodged from defending. So you're addressing the threat immediately, and now you're queenside castling, but you're walking into a fork. And somebody smarter than me, please explain why this is this is I mean, yeah, Tari has 3.5 minutes. He takes, I mean, it's a pawn plus the exchange. Bishop hinting at a potential pin in the future. Tari didn't even have to take right away if he didn't want to, but he does. He takes, and now I figure there's got to be something like bishop e3. Looks very, very logical. I love to develop a piece with a tempo against the queen. I mean, what a lovely move that would be, right? Developing a piece from the back rank. Okay, rook check first. So not even hinting. There's potentially knight takes, and that opens up for the bishop. But yeah, bishop e3 now. Queen here, unpinning the rook. We're threatening rook check, by the way, with this last move. This is a sneaky move. Little deceptive. Just, oh, don't mind me. I'm just lifting my queen so that I can queenside castle. Wait, so why is this not being recommended? What's going on, folks? How is that not the best move? Because we're losing the bishop and the rook for it, I guess. So Roman trying to be a little sneaky back, I guess. But just pawn takes, now queen steps in. If queenside castles, the a pawn falls, I suppose. Tari does it anyways. Roman's got less than 15 seconds. That's a free pawn. 10 seconds for Roman. Oh, Luca won anyways, so the match is over. Doesn't even matter. Luca won by resignation here. So what happened? How is this so bad for Bodan? Knight to d6. Rook takes, rook trade offered, knight d6. Knight takes e5 double exclam to win the match. And now you're in a pin. And yeah, GG. Look at this. Look at this move. Rook check, back rank. If rook takes, say hello to the bishop as well for me and say goodbye to your queen. Handshakes. So, yeah, Mizzou gets the job done, and we see Tari also getting the win, adding insurance to their score. So, congratulations to Mizzou. They move on to the semifinals, guaranteeing themselves at least 4th place, which is good enough for $500, but they're not there for the cash prizes. They're there for the glory. They're looking to move on to the finals, and they want that championship title. So before they get there, though, they have to face UT Dallas in the semifinals. And that's going to be next week. Hey, Iron Wolf. Good to see you. But don't go away just yet, folks. We do have another match after this. It's actually already started. Here, this last move was a huge blunder. What happened here? Rook's doubled, rook here. And apparently the move needed was rook d3. Pawn push, and this allows for the move bishop to d4. Bishop here as well also looks very good. So the rook needed maybe some extra protection so that the bishop wasn't pinned. So Sebastian should be winning this game, but doesn't quite matter as much anymore. Luca and Tari got the job done for Mizzou. Really, it was the round 3. There was a 1.5 to 3.5 swing there, which is huge. All right, so Sebastian wins, and we have one last game, and I'll get us the final score. So Sebastian did really well, 3.5 out of 4, only drawing against Aryan Tari, but unfortunately, his team could not follow his lead. But I mean, Texas Tech was outnumbered by rating significantly. 3 grandmasters, could have been 4 grandmasters for Mizzou, but they swapped out Isik for Amiwal. But Texas Tech, they joined again last season, and they're playing again this season, and hopefully they're having fun. Still competitive. They qualified for playoffs. And I think they put up a good fight here against Mizzou. This game here, Amilal, down to their last second, finds one check, finds two checks, rook block, queen steps back, guarding that back rank, attacking the pawn. Rook saves the pawn, rook comes back, queen check. You could do a queen block. Don't push the king. Oh, he's going to flag. Okay. Oh. He did not flag. He's staying alive. Like the Bee Gees. That move came in at zeros. All right, wait, hold on. There's a queen trade, and now it's Amilal who's pushing the win. He's got a ton of pawns here. But yeah, we do have another match going on currently in Division 3. So we'll be switching on over to watch SLU's B team against University of Minnesota. So this might take a while here to wrap things up. But like I said, Mizzou's already won, so we're going to actually just go on and switch. I'm going to need a moment here to set that up. So congrats to Mizzou, and be sure to tune in next weekend at the same time to watch UT Dallas take on Mizzou in the semifinals. And in the other D1 matchup, it should be SLU versus the winner between SRM IST and UT RGV. Okay, we do have the final result. Amilal going 3 out of 4 as the board 4. Very impressive. So final score 10.5 to 5.5. Give me a moment here. I will be setting up for SLU versus Minnesota in Division 3. So one moment, please, as I set this up. Let me try and find them. All right, and looks like we're in a time scramble. Let me go ahead and pull up these boards. All right, we have a draw here. Who are these players? This was White Knights. That's Matthew. Matthew should have drawn. I guess that was against David Shabert. Okay, and this must be round 2. So I'm gonna have to go look up some of the scores. Let's keep an eye on our good friend here, Matthew Kent Pikus. This is the team captain for SLU's B team. He's playing against an international master, 2757. Pigs on 7th. That's the captain from Minnesota, Samrug, who used to be in St. Louis, but at a different school, Wash U in St. Louis. So this is captain on captain action here. Matthew, board 3, up against Samrug, board 1. I didn't know he was an international master. That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, definitely appreciate fans in the chat. So let us know if you went to either of these schools or if you're cheering for another school. But definitely appreciate the energy. I gotta update this here. This is no longer D1 quarterfinals. This is D3. We're having this updated in real time here. D3 playoffs. So the winner of this match will move on to play in the quarterfinals next weekend. Thank you, Oscar Chess. All right, I have to look up the scores from the first round. We were a little late, so apologies on that. All right, so it looks like it was tied 2-2. 2 draws on the bottom boards, so and that's honestly a pretty good result for Slew. A draw, I guess, against the top board, Samrug, and a point from Nicholas Ladon, top board. And I guess that must mean a point for Alexander, if I had to guess. No. Point for Garv? Hold on. Who's Garv? Oh, Garv's their board. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. All right. I probably have the board order wrong. That's what happened. Okay. So let me see here. I think I have Slew correct. So I need to swap. I'll be real quick. This should be more or less correct. Just had to swap board 3 and 4, I believe. I could still be wrong, but we'll just say that's right. We'll just say that's right. Okay. Let's focus on Matthew Pikus losing to an international master. Anyways, both sides, kingside castle. We have an open A file. Knight on F5. This has got to be my favorite piece on the board. And it just gets traded for that bishop. Bishop doesn't even have an opportunity to step back. And we see the bishop now taking in some of these dark squares. Pawn push. Here we just take. We could win a pawn. We can win an exchange. We do neither. We just double up. Attack the knight. I mean, this is looking fantastic for Samrug. Love the bishop pair. I mean, love the versatility, the options here. I mean, what is Pikus doing, guy? He's struggling. He's on the struggle bus right now. This pawn is the weakest pawn I've ever seen. This knight has to move. So, poor Pikus. Pikus really wanted this, by the way. Pikus, I think like half the SLU team is traveling right now for whatever reason. And they wanted to play at the default time, but they hey, look at this. Look at this, by the way. You're forced to go up a queen for a rook. Otherwise, you're just losing a rook straight up. So pick your poison. Poor Picus. But yeah, they were like, hey, we want to be on broadcast. And this is what he's getting. So, of course, you know, he loses to an international master, which is respectable still. And he resigns early as well. He doesn't even continue the fight. He just throws in the towel. Here we've got, honestly, there's a couple games with some severe time mismatches here. Chariot Chess. This is Alexander Augustine, board 4 from Minnesota at 2,400. And under a minute on the clock here. Ken Lone Carson. This is Hemachandra Ramba, board 2 from SLU. SLU B. Oh, we have a result here as well. 2 title players, Space Girl, Woman Candidate Master, 2283. That's Exidi Eswaran resigning to National Master David Chabert, who now gets a win. So Minnesota, back-to-back wins from their top 2 boards. Can the SLU B team answer back? We haven't looked at SLU's top board. Nicholas Ladon, Nicky, username Noki, also a national master, 2809, and has 2 minutes on the clock versus the Mind Master. This is Garv. Garv was the only player from Minnesota with the full point win in that first round. And I think SRM beat UTRGV actually, which already busts my top bracket. So that's kind of unfortunate. How close was that score? Perhaps it wasn't close. Let me go look. What happened? What happened, Texas? Oh my lord, it's not even close. It was 11-3. And some games potentially missing. Very unfortunate. Wow. I should have known. Anyways. Bro's doing better than you. Yeah, he's also doing better than I would have. Matthew's got the 2,400 rating. That's pretty impressive. Okay, this guy's got less than 10 seconds. Chariot Chess. The board 4. So this is a big point for SLU B, getting a win with their board 2. So they're back within 1. So there's 1 game left here in round 2. If SLU wins, they're going to tie it up. This match has been dead even so far with 2 draws. It was tied 2-2. Minnesota, their top 2 boards, getting wins in round 2 for a 2-point lead, 4-2. But SLU B's top 2 boards answering back with points of their own, starting off with Hemachandra and to be followed soon here by Nikki. So Nikki currently up by a singular pawn. It's a connected passed pawn, but perhaps most importantly, this rook on the 7th is cutting this king off. This rook on the 2nd is not cutting this king off. And here we have a check, also known as a skewer. We could have a second check. And we do. King is forced here, unless you wanted to block with a rook, which you could have. But we trade off rooks. That's going to take this rook off the active squares back here. And we see now there's a fork. White says, I'll take your pawn. Thank you very much. Here the question is pawn takes or king takes. Personally, I like king takes. And why is because, well, the d pawn is hanging now, and we do take that. We're threatening to check the king back to the back rank. Also taking here, defending the h-pawn is very reasonable. Now the king steps back, saying, I'm going to hold on to all my pawns. Pawn check here. It's real nice. Nice and classy move. Rook can't take because you're simplifying into a 1 king and pawn endgame. So the king steps aside, and now this king can go after this last pawn. And does so. There is a check that saves the pawn. There's also these counterattacks, but doesn't really matter. This rook is defending these 2 pawns, and this king is defending this pawn like a personal escort, just walking the pawn up down the wedding aisle to make a queen. So rook gives a handful of checks. King cuts off the rook's defense, so black's going to get 1 pawn back, but that's a really fast pawn right there. So king has the red carpet rolled out for the last 3 squares. Now the rook does get behind the pawn. Pawn push does allow for the king to get in. But white, with a gentle reminder, hey, by the way, don't you forget, I have a second pawn to boot. So rook check, rook block, and now this pawn. King said, psych, I'm promoting the second pawn. I don't even have to use my first pawn. I don't even have to use that third pawn. So here, f7 drops with a check, and f8 equals queen also with a check, and we're going to find mate very quickly. So Nikki gets their second point, tying the score up 4-4. Dead even, and we saw it was dead even in the top division with Mizzou versus Texas Tech, all tied up. But that third round proved to be crucial for Mizzou. We'll see how it goes in this one. Mizzou really pulled away, dispelling any rumors of their struggles in the second half. Here we have a C3 Sicilian, my favorite, the Alapin. And this is Samrug, International Master 2760. Go Gophers. Ski Yuma. I don't even know what that means. Maybe I shouldn't be saying it. Hopefully I didn't say something inappropriate. But, you know, the SLU B team, they are the Billikens. So we've got the Billikens versus the Gophers. Very big matchup here. 2, you know, central time zone schools. Some Midwest action. Samrug had a draw against Exceedy somehow. So we missed that. Whoops, I meant to exit out of this one. So we've got round 3 underway. Here we've got the 2 national masters going at it. This is SLU's top board, Nikki, versus Minnesota's board 2, David Chabert. Sky Yuma. It's the Minnesota cheer. Okay, we're learning. I don't know what the SLU's cheer is, but I do know that they like their Billikens, I guess. Whatever that may be. Any Billiken fans in the chat? I know I saw Benjamin Bach was playing at Granky. Who was he playing against? He was playing against Noterberg of Dusatorov earlier today, actually. I don't know how that match is going, but all right, and we have SLU's board 4, Exceedy, Space Girl. I wonder if she watched the Artemis 2 launch the other day. Exciting times for space enthusiasts. Anyways, bishop comes out. Now, I'm kind of intrigued in this position. I guess e5 is not so good. Attacking a pinned piece. For whatever reason. I guess there's like a queen a5 move, which pins the pawn to the bishop. There's also maybe just h6, attacking the bishop as well. So Space Girl just brings out the bishop, and now we have h6 questioning the dark square bishop. So there's a couple pins in the position, and if we bring this bishop back, are we okay with giving up this pawn on e4, which we neglected to push, although probably wasn't good to do so anyways. So big question mark here with this last move from the Mind Master, Garv Kurana. So decides to bring the bishop back, unpinning the knight, but the pawn was still potentially hanging with bishop takes, knight takes. But then there would have been maybe a disaster waiting to happen. So we see a check here. Pawn's attacking the bishop. So the bishop's got to move. Maybe bishop a6, maybe bishop back. Bishop back to d3. I like this pawn duo here for black in the center. And also the time situation is not good for Space Girl. Under 2 minutes here versus over 4 minutes for Garv. So Garv is looking good in this position. Pawn duo advancing. Trying to trap this bishop, honestly. Kind of annoying. So we'll see. We'll see if Garv is going to be able to push this further, try to get a win. Let's check back in with the top board from Minnesota here, the International Master, and he's looking like he's knowing what he's doing. He's looking like an international master. He's got this 3-on-2 pawn majority on the queen side, bishop pair. Just really solid position here for white. Queens are traded off the board, but there's a missing b pawn for black, and that is currently the difference. And the computer wants to get these pawns rolling. What's up, Newt? Good to see you. How's it going? All right, let's check in with the National Masters. The two NMs. So this is a big opportunity for Minnesota to pull away, actually, in this match. I think Minnesota is the rating favorite here. So they have the higher rated players. They have the International Master on the top board, but also I think the bottom boards. So like here, for example, this is SLU B team's top player, Nikki, at 28-11. So technically higher rated, but National Master versus National Master, this could be an opportunity for Minnesota to take down SLU's top player. And David has a time advantage here, about twice as much time on the clock. So we've got potentially a tricky situation. Pawn takes, rook opens up defending the bishop. So pretty even material. Even a draw here, I think, would favor Minnesota. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. I'm kind of worried about Exceedy's time control here. 30 seconds. And you could see here, her rating is 2283. And, oh, hold on. Mind Master could be blundering. I think they're playing very quickly, both of them. So black is doing much better here, but knight takes is a big mistake because queen takes e4 threatens checkmate, actually. And you'd have to play g6, and then you drop the pawn with tempo, and their king is getting lit up. So here's the mistake. Bishop takes b4. Now here there's this move, knight g5, hitting the queen. So saving the knight, and Exceedy blunders in time pressure. And this is that difference in time showing through. And also the difference in ELO as well. The rating is in favor for Minnesota. So we were talking about that top division matchup, Mizzou versus Texas Tech, the third round being the difference maker after it being tied 4-4. And we could see that same thing happening here. I think Minnesota might pull away in this match, but SLU has to keep it close. They can't give up just yet. They have to give themselves a chance to come back in the fourth round. So right now it's not looking good for Exceedy. Let's check in on the B team captain here, Mr. Pikus, White Knights Wanderer. So this position's looking a bit more even. This bishop maybe not so good, if I'm being honest. But this bishop very close to being trapped. We have to see something from black to address this threat, c4. It's a big threat. No backwards moves for this bishop. So how do you stop c4? Well, you can play b5. And then you could see the move a4, actually, trying to distract this pawn. But then there's probably a6, and then you're fine again. So kind of a stalemate sort of situation here, if they find the right moves. This is Chariot Chess. This is Minnesota's bottom board, their board 4. And here, offering a queen trade. If queen takes, there's going to be rook takes, freeing up space for that bishop. So in this situation, wow, rook e1, a deflection move, trying to distract the rook from defending the queen. So the king is forced to step up, but then you're getting checked here. That's actually just mate on the spot. So you have to find bishop f1. Now, queen trade, and then your f-pawn is hanging. Unbelievable tactics here from Chariot Chess, the board 4 from Minnesota, but only 30 seconds on the clock. Can they find it? They do find the queen trade, and they don't go for the f-pawn because king to f2 would be a fork. So the bishop tucks back, but saves itself. So c4 was maybe a little early, missing this really nice rook e1 maneuver. But now Pikus wins a pawn. He's going for that rook trade. Wait, I didn't mean to put a move on the board myself. There's a reason why I'm commentating and not playing. Okay, they did make the trade though. And if pawn takes, we'll do bishop takes. Oh, but then our g-pawn is hanging. But hold on, they messed up. They done goofed. The board 4 from Minnesota, unable to play in the time pressure. Alexander Augustine, SLU B team, keeping their hopes alive here with their captain, Matthew Pikus, up a pawn, but lots of pawns on light squares and still looking relatively even. Space Girl did go down. Matt Henningsen with the massive raid. Thank you so much. Okay, we had a draw offer declined by Matthew Pikus. Okay, this match here, very down to the wire. Less than 15 seconds for both sides. Both players, national masters. Did I put the point on the board? So, okay, Mind Master. This is Garv now, 2 out of 3 for Minnesota. So Minnesota's up by 1 right now. The moves are flying in here. Neither side has time to think. Rook takes pawn with check. This could be huge for Minnesota. They're already up by 1 in this matchup, beating the SLU B team board 4. We have a rook trade. So now it's 3 pawns, rook and knight versus 3 pawns, rook and knight, but white has the better structure. But that's looking pretty even. Let's check in with Minnesota's top board and captain, their international master. And he looks like he's going to be pushing this. Wait, wow, we have so many moves missed. So we trade off 1 rook. We trade off both rooks. So bishop pair versus bishop and knight. And we have a pin. Trade off here. Bishop comes in. Another pin? No, a check. That's a skewer, winning a pawn. So it's a 2-pawn advantage. Ooh, and a deflection. So it's 3 pawns. Okay, now back to just 2 pawns. Here's the problem. You're promoting on the wrong color and your pawns are doubled. But there's some good news, though, and that the king positioning for black is just terrible. All the way on the corner here. So the bishop is able to come in and push through. Bishop here covering that last dark square that the pawn has to push through. And we have resignation. So Sam Rugg really leading his team. And Matthew Pikus drawing against the board 4. So this is actually really huge for Minnesota. Matthew and Alex with a draw. Sam Rugg with a win. Garv with a win. And now here, this is SLU B team's top board. They're 2,800. National Master Nikki, but being held to a draw by Minnesota's National Master. So the National Masters proved to be even. There is still some time left on this clock, some moves to be made, but I think this position is really equal and hard to make progress. But we do have some checks thrown in, some pawn pushes. We have black giving a check, bringing the knight back. Another check here. King steps to the back rank. And now white's going to try to target this h-pawn with the move knight to f6. Uh-oh. There's a check. King steps up. King doesn't want to take that square from the knight, but the king does want to attack this knight. Knight comes back, but now look at this. There's no king move to save the pawn. White's winning. Give me that pawn with check. Well, the king is here. Hold on. It also likes king e5. But taking the pawn is winning. Taking the pawn is very much winning. 4 seconds, though. Trades knights. What? I don't know what I just saw. But you know what? That's okay. Minnesota was in the lead already, but we'll see if that comes back to haunt them. So that's a draw for David and for Nikki. So SLU, they get up to 5 points. They're going to need a massive round 4 to bring it back. They need at least 3 points out of 4 to tie the match at 8. Minnesota, they're at 7 points. They could have had 7.5, which would have been huge. That's the lead that Mizzou had going into their 4th round earlier today in their victory against Texas Tech. So Minnesota, they're at 7 points. They need 1.5 more to win the match outright. SLU B team, they've got 4 games left. They need 3 of those points out of 4. So they can only afford 1 loss or 2 draws. Anything more than that and they lose. If they tie it 8-8, they'll force overtime. We'll go to round 5 for tie breaks with the faster time control, 3+2 blitz instead of 5+2. So right now, SLU B team, they've got their backs against the wall. Here we've got the board 3s. SLU B team's captain, Matthew Pikus. He only has 2 draws. He hasn't gotten a win yet. Now would be the time to get a win on the board. But he's got the black pieces. He's playing pretty quickly here. He's playing against Garv, who's been doing quite well. 2 out of 3. It's pretty good. Let's check in on the top boards here. SLU B team, their national master technically over 2,800. It's the rating favorite, but we saw them get away with a draw against Minnesota's national master. They're board 2, David. So let's see. Nicky's got the white pieces, but he's up against an international master. 2.5 out of 3 for both of these players, actually. So they're even on the score. Let's check in on the board 4s. This should be in favor for Minnesota as well on the rating. 23.99. Basically a discount, 2,400. But Space Girl got a draw against Samrug, Minnesota's international master, and she's a woman candidate master, so she knows what she's doing. But she's followed up her draw against the top board with 2 losses. So can she get back on track? This is when the team needs her the most. And the last game we haven't looked at, the board 2s here. Hemachandra Ramba, Kinlone Carson. Only has 1 point out of 3. And up against David, who has 2 out of 3. Really could have had 2.5 out of 3. So I think 1 win and 2 draws from David. Hasn't been beat yet, if I'm not mistaken. But Slew's got the white pieces on this board. Bishop hits the rook, so the pawn blocks. Bishop's going to have to find a new home. Steps back, and now d4 is a very logical response here, trying to open up this e-file. Trying to create some space for these pieces. So I think d4 is a good move. Queen comes out with tempo on the pawn, maybe looking to open up this bishop. It's a close match. I mean, 2-point lead. We could see it get erased here. Slew just needs to put some good games together here. This is with the season on the line. The winner of this match moves on to play against Armenia in the quarterfinals next weekend. All right, rook to b8, defending that b pawn. Which match should we watch? We got to keep an eye on Mr. Pikus here, the captain. The B team captain. And honestly, it's looking like he's got himself a decent position. He gets the bishop pair versus 2 knights. He snags that knight, opens up this white king a little bit. So white has doubled h-pawns. Bishop coming into e6, just keeping things all tied together. White's looking to activate on this king side. Queen stepping over, tickling this pawn. Queen steps over, defending the pawn. What are we looking for, Pikus? Matt, he's down on time by about a minute. What's going on the bottom boards? Alex versus Exceedy. The 2 A names. So we have an uncastled king here and a semi-open h-file. So black isn't fully situated right now, but white has some moves to make before they can connect their rooks, develop all of their pieces. Right now, this knight, bishop, and queen all staring at the f-pawn, so f-pawn was feeling a little nervous. g3 is there to help support. Knight steps back, hitting the queen. Queen's going to step back opposite this king. Can't really take too much advantage of it. Looks like to me the knight's going to f3. Maybe hopping into e5 or maybe to g5. Very good options there for this knight, and that helps open up the bishop as well. So maybe a slight advantage for white. Knight f3, just just such a natural looking move. This last move from black, opening up this queen and rook, but not necessarily helping improve the options here for Space Girl. Yeah, I think Minnesota is going to win this match. But Picus wants to prove me wrong. Looking to lead his team back in it. He's down half the time. Rook and queen piled up on the e-pawn. Queen opposite the king. It's bishop versus knight. Maybe slightly worse pawns for white. And a 3-on-2 majority for Picus on the queen side. Knight's rerouting. Wow, computer somehow liked the move h. Oh, yeah, okay, h5 makes sense. The rook was defending it, which I forgot about. But king steps up. So now there's g6, flushing the rook away. Rook comes back to the third rank. And how to make progress for Picus. So b5 here, looking to create a passed pawn. When you have the pawn advantage, you push them. The computer didn't like it at all, by the way, for whatever reason. But all right, look at this. Check, fork. Problem. Black to move. What to do? Move the rook or move the king. King is moved. Computer loves this. But can they find it? Here it looks like you play this. Okay. Picus is low-key getting cooked. Oh my god, we have a huge time scramble. 6.9 seconds for Space Girl. And a king on d7. Maybe not so nice. Rook over. She's living off the increment. 4 pawns in a row for white and the bishop pair and a safer king. I mean, this is crazy. Computer likes a4. 2 minutes versus 7 seconds. Slew needs to find 3 points somewhere. Matthew has not moved. h5 has put him in a stun lock. Queen comes out, but oh my lord. Ladies and gentlemen. Matthew, what is 8.9 seconds on the clock to 2 minutes? I mean, why? I mean, I don't know, guys. It's a tough spot. He put himself in a tough spot. He shouldn't have done b5. b5 is where the computer's like, what is he doing? It needs h5 here. He needed h5 because otherwise white plays h5. And now he's put himself into the blender. Less than 10 seconds. G-file is opening up like a can of worms. H4 is hitting. And it's going to hurt. Queen comes back, but now you can play h5. Say hello to my doubled pawn. And yeah, Exidi, I don't know who's going to lose first. Well, Exidi's position's at least playable. But 5 seconds is rough. Here, white hasn't played. There's a couple moves that win. It really likes, what is it, 93? 93 is a brutal move too, dude. Okay, but h5 is so obviously winning. Now knight f6. Oh my goodness. Knight takes. What else we got? Queen h4. I mean, give me a check. You could trade queens if you wish. Oh my goodness. Queen check. Bishop block. Okay, he says let's trade queens now. Does he want to trade queens? Matthew, does have 2-on-1, majority on the queen side. Pigs on the 7. We weren't even watching this top game, but turns out International Master is actually too strong. And we get that open G file. It's actually Nikki who's winning here. Knight takes F4. Oh, we did queen takes F4. Wow, allowing rook G4. So what happens if you do knight takes? Then it just doesn't work. Wow. So this is the blunder from the National Master, and now rook takes G2. Queen for 2 rooks, but you're just getting your salad tossed here. He was put in the blender. All right, so top board gets the job done. Here, Matthew's about to lose. Down in exchange. Rook check. Can pick up a pawn. So Samra gets 3.5. That brings him to 8. So Slew has to win out to force overtime. Any draw at this point or loss loses on the spot. Thanks to their top board from Minnesota. So who's going to get this point first? This game's looking a bit more even. So Exceedy's trying to hold it. This game's also looking a little even. I think it's on the captain here, Matthew Pikus. Can he find a miracle draw, a stalemate, anything for his team season on the line? That pawn is running up the board. King here blunders into mate. King in the corner. What's he going for? Some Rosentrap? Rosentrap? No, it's not going to work. You're getting mated on the next move. Unfortunate. And resigns. That's the season right there. Oh, I'm sorry. Slew B team goes down to Minnesota. They were too strong up north. So Garv, very strong performance. 3 out of 4. And yeah, I mean, Alex now is winning against Exceedy, who has been in some serious time pressure all match. Tried to defend and hold this together for as long as possible. But that rook wins a pawn there. And wins another pawn there. And yeah, it's just too many pawns. So resigns. Alex with the win. Minnesota looking for this round 4 sweep. I mean, it was close the first 2 rounds, but then you could really see and feel the difference in rating in the last 2 rounds. So yeah, here it's a 3-on-2, but wait, there's a rook. Where did that rook come from? So yeah, this is going to be a 4th round sweep. Minnesota, they're looking really good, in shape for quarterfinals. So Armenia, they've got their work cut out for them. They've got a hungry Minnesota team chasing them. Where did the rook come from? Trade here, takes. Bishop trade, queen in. There goes a pawn. And there goes... Where goes the rook? I'm confused. Check. Check. Oh. Mate threat on h1. There goes the rook. All right. So White's trying to avoid the 4th round sweep. Maybe looking for a perpetual. Or a stalemate. Or a 50 move rule. Where was the last check? h5, h4 on move 58. And they're on move 77. Oh, but there's another, that same mate threat is being threatened. So that's going to do it there, folks. That's going to do it. You can sack your queen, but then you've got this G-pawn that you can push. Also, you have a spot for the king to go to. So there's nothing more left to do at that point. You could trade queens, but then you're just down a rook. So resignation is a fair choice there. And David, National Master, also going 3 out of 4. Very strong showing here from Minnesota. finishing the match 11-5, taking down the SLU B team, ending their season, and punching Minnesota's ticket to the Division III quarterfinals against Armenia, which will be happening next weekend, Saturday, April 11th. So that was the start of the Collegiate Chess League's playoffs this season. That was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations to Minnesota and to Mizzou, both winning on stream today and punching their ticket to the next round, where there's going to be even more stakes on the line. So right now, SLU, their A team is still in it. They're playing against SRM IST, and Mizzou will be playing against UT Dallas. So they're playing another Texan team next weekend. So that's going to be the Division I semifinals. That's going to be next week, same time, with even more stakes on the line. As I said, semifinals, they're guaranteed $500 for just placing fourth. But if they get to the finals, they're going to be winning at least $2,500. So there's $2,000 on the line. And first place overall in Division I is actually $5,000 cash. So, yeah, and they're mainly going for that Division I championship title. So right now, SLU, they're the defending champs. They're the team to beat. They're the number 1 seed. Mizzou's the last team to have won it back in 2024, so it's been a while. And UT Dallas, I believe, they're the number 2 seed in the bracket. They're looking for their first ever Collegiate Chess League championship title. So they were very close last season. In fact, they only lost to SLU 8.5 to 7.5 in the finals. And really, I think they should have won that game. But they had some unfortunate blunders in some key moments. So only lost that by a point. Will they have an opportunity like that again? Or will Mizzou take Dallas down along the way? We'll find out next weekend. But thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. And I hope to see you all back next week. So stay tuned for that. But otherwise, have a great rest of your weekend. And I'm going to find some channels to send you all off on for a raid. So I'll see you all next time. Take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your weekend. Stick around for the raid. Bye.